Paul McCartney's 1984 film and soundtrack are a cautionary tale for us all, but it's not all bad news. Let's discuss. When this first came out in 1984, I was pretty pumped. I was 18 or 19. My Paul McCartney fandom was growing, so I was looking forward to the film. However, it came and went from the movie theater so quickly, I didn't get a chance to see it. I ended up seeing it some months later whenever it came on HBO or whatever service. And like a lot of people, I was more or less underwhelmed, although I loved the music and it was fun just seeing Paul on the screen. The first purchase I made of the soundtrack was a cassette, which I don't have anymore, unfortunately. The second purchase I made was this book, Give My Regards to Broad Street. I highly recommend this if you can scrape this up on eBay or wherever you can find it in a used bookstore. It's got a lot of really cool information about the making of the film and, great pictures, of course, a lot of great quotes from Paul, and I think the director's quoted in here, and a bunch of different people. So I learn a lot by flipping through this every once in a while. The next thing I got was the CD, and that's pretty cool because they loaded up a little bit more material on the CD than certainly was on the album, and I think even on the cassette. The CDs, has the maximum capacity, so you get as much music as possible on here. And then I eventually did get the album, and I actually got this at a Beatle Fest a few years ago. It's a sealed copy, and I have another copy that I play, but this is cool. It sounds really nice, but it's, as I say, has a little bit less music because they wanted the dynamics to sound really good on vinyl, so they took a few things off and they edited some things. The biggest omission here is the song So Bad, which was also on Pipes of Peace. They just decided they didn't have enough room for it on this album. I eventually also picked up a copy of the DVD. This was released some years later, and I ended up getting it used at Amoeba Music for a fairly pretty penny, but I decided as a collector, I gotta have it. And it looks good, although I'd love to see a Blu-ray of this. All right, so what can we say about this whole thing? Well, the thing is that it's like good news and bad news of a lot of artistic projects that are not commercially successful. The good news is that he put it out, and he had the conviction to do that. He had the belief in himself, and he followed his vision, and he followed through on it and brought it to fruition. So that's great. And also, although it was a failure, he didn't let that crush him. He came back fairly soon with the Spies Like Us single, and then eventually he came out with the All the Best compilation, and then he did put some good time in before he came out with his next album, Press to Play, but that was a very experimental album, so he wasn't pulling any punches on his artistic vision. He was still following his muse even after the failure of this album. So I admire Paul for that. And in terms of the courage to write the script for the movie, I give him credit for the courage. Now, getting to the bad news, starting with the script, it's just not very good. He admits this now. It's a rather pedestrian script. Let's face it. There's not much going on. There's not much conflict. There's not much character development, and the dialogue is very, pretty much stilted throughout. Now, Paul's idea for doing a film goes back to his Wings days. He wanted to do a film, I believe, in the mid-'70s. Just kind of like Band on the Run type of a thing. But then he had sci-fi ideas that he was considering with I think Isaac Asimov and Gene Roddenberry. So he was very ambitious, and then the tragedy of John's murder, and he got busy sort of bringing his solo career into the mainstream. And he's working with Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson, so that took a lot of time. If you think about it, Tug of War comes out in '82, Pipes of Peace in '83. This comes out in '84. I mean, there's not a lot of rest in there. It doesn't seem. It seems pretty much full steam ahead. But he eventually, my point is, he eventually got to do a film. This, I guess, came to him in a dream as an idea, just kind of dozing in the car one day, and his mind sort of drifting along, and he had this idea of, my goodness, what if I made a full album, and somehow the master tapes got lost, and a lot of people were counting on it at the record company, and there could be a mystery about that, and so and we can intersperse a lot of music in there, and it's kind of a day in the life of a pop star. So that was the basic idea, and the script is the biggest problem, and also Paul's acting is not very dynamic. I don't know if this is really his initiative or the director was toning him down, but he comes off very flat throughout all of it, which is unfortunate because, as we know from interviews, he can be a really fun guy, and he's very charismatic, and he certainly brought a lot of humor to other Beatle films back in the day. So it's just a misguided choice, if I may say, in terms of how he chose to play his character. Although the script and the playing of the character go hand in hand, because maybe there wasn't a lot of inspiration in the script to really move him to show up in a lively way. Now he's got Ringo in here too. Ringo has lots of experience of acting, but he kind of plays rather dour and sort of stilted as well. Pretty much everybody comes across pretty much kind of checked out, if you will. Now, where they come to life is in the music sections. There's some sections of Paul more or less solo or just with Ringo. There's supposed music videos that they show being made. Those are really cool, like ballroom dancing and silly love songs. And then he's got like a rehearsal piece in kind of a barn type area, or some sort of a hangar type area, and a lot of people say that's the best part of the film, that rehearsal section where they do No Values and Not Such a Bad Boy. Those are two rockin' new tracks that Paul wrote for the movie, and he's got a really killer band with him, like Ringo's on drums, and he's got Dave Edmunds and Chris Spedding on guitar. Paul's on bass. Yeah, that comes across pretty cool, and everybody seems, pretty much into it. So that's a fun part. But the movie just kind of plods along. You're just kind of going from one set piece to another. There's not much of interest tying it all together. Whether or not he finds the guy with the tapes, I won't spoil it for you, but I'm not so sure you're running out to see this movie. You probably can find it on YouTube for free if you are moved to check it out. But let's talk for a moment about the music. There's a bunch of really good renditions on here. Now, the big news at the time was that he was redoing some Beatles songs. And Ringo didn't want to do that, so he doesn't drum on those songs. He's willing to drum on the other songs. So he redoes some from Beatle days. He redoes some from his Wings or solo days. And then he has a few new tunes. So the big single was No More Lonely Nights. This is a fantastic ballad by Paul, one of his best of all time, I would say. Pristine, killer. You got David Gilmour on guitar. I don't believe he appears in the film, but that's a great legacy of this whole project that will live on forever. Now, in terms of Beatle tracks, you got Good Day Sunshine, you got Yesterday, Here, There, and Everywhere, you got Eleanor Rigby, you got The Long and Winding Road, and For No One. And then solo, you got the new ones, but also Wanderlust from Tug of War, Ballroom Dancing from Tug of War, Silly Love Songs from Wings at the Speed of Sound. You got So Bad from Pipes of Peace. You got... That's pretty much it. There's a so-called play-out version of No More Lonely Nights, which is kind of goofy. And then you got a kind of a torch song called Good Night Princess, which is kind of fun. So the album is a really nice listening experience. It's kind of an acquired taste, and it's not something that you'll go to all the time just because it has these songs that are on other albums, and for the most part the versions on the other albums are probably preferable, certainly the Beatle tracks. But Ballroom Dancing in particular, I think, is better on Broad Street than it is on Tug of War. So that's cool. And again, you get the originals of No More Lonely Nights, No Values, Not Such a Bad Boy, and Good Night Princess. So it is worth coming back to. His voice is still in top form here. So, you got that unmistakable Paul McCartney vocals throughout, and you got his passion that bleeds through pretty much all his material. So, I like the album. I'll stand up for the album, and I can easily recommend for anybody who's any kind of a Paul McCartney fan that you give it a listen and just see if you enjoy it. I bet you will. Now, just to wrap up with lessons here, as I alluded to, I think it's great in one sense to follow your vision for anything. And like they say, it's like fire, ready, aim, Sometimes it's better to just do it. Just get into it, get it done, put it out. You'll learn from that experience. And while everybody else or many people are just planning and plotting and trying to get it perfect, and then maybe they never put it out. So you see, I mean, now you could say, well, but it didn't work out. People didn't like it. It kind of hurt my reputation. I hear that, but I think that you'll learn something. You'll learn something through the process that will inform you in your next project. That's why I wish Paul would have done another film. I think he definitely learned a lot from this, and he could have put that into play on some kind of other drama that he came up with. hire a writer, or at least a co-writer, who can shepherd you through the process of writing a quality script. If I'm not mistaken, this script is pretty much his first draft, which even if you're an accomplished screenwriter, it probably isn't a great idea. In most cases, you're going through a dozen, maybe 20, 30 drafts to get it to its final stages. And he'd be better served working with an expert. He did, I believe, reach out to Tom Stoppard, famous British playwright, to work with him. For whatever reason, that didn't work out. I think Paul got impatient and just, like I say, just decided to run with it. He did get the backing of 20th Century Fox. They're probably banking on the Paul McCartney name, not so much the quality of the material. So, you can see how the whole thing happened, and we can, sort of look at it and laugh and deride him for it. But, at the same time, again, I give him credit for doing it, for having the courage of his convictions. And I think any of us who are creating any kind of content out there in the world, we're all going to fail from time to time. And, I get it. He's a public figure, and he certainly is deserving of critique, just like anybody. And I'm sure he understands that. But at the same time, he's a human being, and he can also deserve our compassion and our understanding, even our forgiveness in a sense, just like we would appreciate that same kind of sentiment coming back towards us when we inevitably fail at something that we really care about. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Give My Regards to Broad Street. I hope you have enjoyed this little journey down Paul McCartney memory lane. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, give this video a like, and tell me your comments. Tell me your take on the movie, or the soundtrack, the whole thing of Give My Regards to Broad Street. Let's chat together. All right, until next time, take care.